Okay, so this is the Jupiter 2000 watt continuous 4000 watt peak power inverter from Harbor Freight. It's got 320 volt AC outlets. It also has a USB port. Powers up to 4 devices at a time, which is interesting because it's got 3 plug-ins, so the 4th would be your USB, I guess. Here it's got a chart of what you could run with the 2000 watt, up to an air conditioner at 15,000 BTUs. Low voltage, high voltage cutoffs, high and low temperature, high currents, short circuit, overload alarm. Okay, we've already unboxed it. You don't get to see that. Nice styrofoam design, well protected. Also comes with instructions. This is a Walmart battery. It's 845 MCA marine cranking amps. Somewhere I saw an amp rating on it, 122 amp hours. What I am doing though, I'm running a kilowatt, which is a pretty handy little device. So let me get a shot at that. See if I can not get a reflection here. Okay, power is kind of cycling right around 115 volts. It's not really precise. At the moment, we have no amps, probably, okay, hertz is a good one to know. 60.06, that's where it should be. It's, basically where it should be. Okay, plugged in over here, I've got a heater. Earlier, I tested this with the kilowatts. Fan pulls 24 watts, low power setting is 750, and high setting is 1470. So since this is a 2000 watt continuous, this should run the heater no problem. Alright, so let's see how it does. I'm going to look at, I'm going to have the kilowatt in the frame, set it on watts. 22 watts, that's just the fan. That's pretty close to what I had before. Low setting on the heater should go about 750 watts. 360, 420, 450, 600 watts. I'm adding to global warming here. 645, 650. This could be a factor of it not being pure sine wave, because it's showing less power than it tested when I had it. I did this test initially on the heater plugged into, mains power. So I'm only pulling 650 watts instead of 750. All right, so that's interesting. Okay, let's go up to high. About 1200 watts. It's a little lower than it should be, but okay. Putting out heat, that's good. Oops, yeah, the heater's got a shut-off feature if you move it, so I put my hand in front of the heater, it's blowing heat, that's good. 1200 watts, okay. The other thing I wanted to get in the shot here is that power indicator. That's showing me a kind of a graphical of how much power I'm using. It doesn't have a digital display as far as how many watts I'm pulling, okay. If I shade this, okay, now you can see it, it's 2 bars from the top, okay. Now if I turn the heater down lower, it drops down immediately. If I turn it off, okay, so that's useful, it's showing me something, it's just not, I would like a digital readout, but that's something, at least you can see you're pulling something. Alright, so that's that. I'm going to grab a multimeter and keep an eye on my battery just so I know how much power I have left. I'm going to let that run for a few minutes, so I'll come back. That heater is showing 11 amps, which has changed. Oh, the fan just kicked on. Okay, I heard a sound change. I'm like, what's going on there? So I finally warmed up the inverter enough that its internal fan came on. That's something interesting. I'm going to turn the heater on low. Okay, the fan already cut off. I didn't even turn the heater down. Of course, I am outside. It's probably 40 degrees out here, so something to keep in mind. This will make noise. the fan will keep coming on. On my old one, that's annoying. Even though it's not pulling much of a load, the fan turns on every now and then. So that's just something to keep in mind. Yeah, battery's down to 10.75, so that's kind of where you'd want it to be. Let's turn the heater to the low setting. Okay, this is a good test here too. Battery on the heater on the low setting, I'm showing 11.25. High setting pulls it right down. Okay, that's a useful thing to know, I guess, is the point. You know, if you pull less power, your battery should last longer. That kind of makes sense. I'm going to be testing this inside my truck camper this next week. Run a little propane heater to take the chill off, and then I jump in bed real quick and then shut the heater off. If I can run an electric heater, I don't know, for some reason that makes me feel a little bit safer, and this heater has a thermostat on. So if I can turn it down to a low setting, it'll only come on every now and then. What I'm hoping is, well, the test this week will be how many hours can I run the heater at a low setting off of a single battery. For in the truck, how many batteries do I need? That's why we're going to test it. I don't know. If I can run my microwave for a few minutes to heat up a cup of coffee, run the heater for maybe an hour at night to warm it up and then shut it off. So maybe I can run the heater for half an hour and then recharge the battery during the day off of the truck. I'm going to wire it to the front so I can charge it. The last test is I'm going to grab the microwave, so I'm going to shut the heater off. Look at that, that jumped right up for a second. Yeah, it's a fairly good battery, fairly new. That'll probably come up to 12 volts in a minute here. Yeah, there's 12 volts already. It says it's a 700 watt microwave. With the door open, this is using 19 watts. That's just the light. With the door closed, it's still pulling 0.5, 0.6 of a watt. That's just to keep the clock working, basically. Okay, this was brewed earlier today. It's a typical for me cup, well over 8 ounces. I had left myself a note that it takes 2 to 2.5 minutes to warm up a cup of coffee in this, because this is only a 700 watt microwave, right? So let's give it 2 minutes. So I'm just going to hit 30 plus 4 times. Okay. Now, I forgot my pen, so I'll write this down later. I'm showing 500 watts on the kilowatt meter. It's not a pure sine wave, so I'm not getting as much power as I should. So I'm going to say 500 watts. My battery is showing 11.5 now. About 6.6 amps. And on the front of the inverter, I'll add this in later. Actually, we're going to do this now. Behind all the gaggle of wires here. That microwave is showing 3 bars. Okay. Now the thing is, this is one of the devices that really needs, okay, that's the fan for the inverter, just kicked on a little bit. Microwaves are one of the few things that I have that really think they need pure sine wave. Okay, this was kind of warm already. This was 2 minutes. This will be for my own reference. Yeah, the cup feels warm. That's good. All right, that's good. Now, what I'm looking to do with this, I'm going to have a single battery, that inverter, this heater, and that microwave. All of that, and maybe not that cup of coffee, will be in my camper shell project. All right. So, of course, pile of tools everywhere. Oh, good. I was like, where did this go? This is the package for the wire kit that I bought. Okay. Technically, this is under spec because the inverter is labeled up to use a 3-foot wire at 1 1/0 size. So those wires are too small. If I run it at maximum power, because I'm not running it at max power, I can run smaller wires. True. If you're going to buy a big inverter, buy the bigger wires. The big set wasn't available when I bought this, so I got this smaller set. Short wires are always better. Alright, so, excuse my laundry, but this is the truck camper, currently uninsulated. I haven't exactly decided where I'm putting the batteries, but they got to be within 6 feet, so we'll see. You know, for convenience, it might make sense to put the battery right behind the spare tire right now. That would be simpler. And then I can put the microwave right on the shelf that I've built. The next thing is to figure out how to attach the microwave to the shelf so it doesn't fall off. That'll be a project for tomorrow. But yeah, this worked. Okay. And then moving forward. Can I run an electric heater in there off of a battery so I don't freeze to death? And then can I run a microwave for a couple minutes in the morning to warm up coffee? For what I'm doing right now, I'm going to brew coffee here on the ranch off of the generator, although I have brewed coffee off the inverter before, or the other inverter, and that works. It's just such an enormous load on your batteries. And since I'm running solar, I don't want to kill my batteries just making my first cup of coffee in the morning. Warm up a cup of coffee in the morning, make some oatmeal, and run the heater over the night. And then I'm going to jump in the truck and go somewhere anyway. When I'm driving, I'm recharging the battery. So, you know, the question for me is, can I run for the whole week off of one battery, knowing that I'm going to charge for a few minutes here and there? Okay, so on the shelf, battery down on the floor. That might be a good spot for it. It's below the shelf so I don't kick it, and it's easier to get to from the back. Inverter, I'm going to change the orientation. I just have to loosen up the cables and turn it around, and I can screw it down. One possibility is I may screw it to the bottom of the shelf. I'm not sure if I got enough room to do that. So we'll look at that. And then we got enough room for the cords there, but that's not the way it's going to be sitting. And the microwave, and then on top of the microwave is the heater. In the beginning, it's just kind of like testing what you got and go from there. Switch on, that works. Microwave comes on. Heater, low setting, 2 or 3 bars. So we're set. Okay, now it jumped up to 3 bars. Cool. And in this small of a space, it's only a 6-foot long bed. You know, so I don't have a lot of room in here. And the last thing is how to mount everything. I still got to work through that. You know, for the microwave, if I just throw a cargo strap across it and ratchet it down, that's probably good enough. I will screw down the inverter just so it doesn't flap around, and then probably another cargo strap to keep the battery in place. If it doesn't move more than an inch or two, that's good enough for this week. Okay, so currently I've got the Harbor Freight solar panels. That's 3 100-watt kits. So you got 4 and 4 and 4, right? They all run into this charge controller. Now this is a 20 amp controller. This is not the one that came with the kit. What I'm thinking of doing in the truck, take a charge controller like this. I have another one that's just like this. It's 30 amp. I may use it. But the charge controller doesn't know where the power is coming from. It just says, okay, the power is coming in. Let me send it to the battery. When the battery gets too full, then it just says, okay, stop charging. All right. So what I'm thinking of doing is, instead of using the solar power input, run that to the truck alternator. And then I use the charge controller to charge the battery in the back. That eliminates the problem of trying to keep the front battery and the back battery balanced, because what I had happening before, I had a couple vans and I always wired them up with an inverter similar to this and another deep cycle battery, smaller ones typically. And I'd put a solenoid in there so that when we started the truck up, the solenoid would bridge the front and the back, and it would automatically recharge the battery in the back. And it worked out really well. It was automatic. You just didn't think about it. You turned on the key, you started charging the back battery. Shut off the key, the back battery was isolated. You could run the back battery dead, not worry about your starting battery. So in that aspect, it was really pretty genius. What I found though was, and I didn't really notice it so much at the time, and probably because I didn't understand it, but the front battery was taking a beating, and my starting batteries didn't seem to last as long as they should have. So what was happening is the alternator would see the combined voltage of the two batteries, crank up the amps, send a bunch of power. The front battery was probably getting boiled dry or damaged from overcharging, where the back battery wasn't fully charged yet. Eventually I'd get to where I was going, shut off. The back battery had been in float the whole time, and so it was fully charged. I didn't see a problem, but the front batteries didn't last very long. So my thinking is, using a charge controller like this, it'll just see 14.5 from the alternator coming in. It'll take 20 amps or whatever is available, send it to the back battery, monitor the back battery. When it gets up high enough, it'll float it. On the front side of the system, the alternator just sees a 20 amp load and adjusts automatically. It puts out 14.5 volts. The front battery should basically be managed by the alternator and the charge controller, the voltage regulator, and it'll keep it from going too high. It's basically just like as if I was running 20 amps of, running my heater. The alternator just sees more amps going out, so it adjusts in that respect. So if that works, that'll be an easy solution. And so that's what we're going to test tomorrow. The idea that I had, because I can come home with a 2-hour charge, from driving home, and have a fully charged battery bank in the truck. I can at least run some things off of the truck and not touch the battery bank here. So then I'm thinking, would it make sense to run an extension cord from the truck to the bus instead of using the solar side? So maybe I could run a whole day off of the truck and then use the second day off of the solar batteries, run them down. They've got all week to recharge. Make use of the fact I'm driving 2 hours each way to El Paso. So I drive, if I run that battery down, it should be fully recharged by the time I get to town again. Boom, there you go. And then use it all week, drive around a little bit, so I'm not going to probably fully charge it during the week, because I'm not going to go out of my way, I don't think, to idle just to recharge the battery.